La 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 la. I will be using these patterns which I got earlier on from when I was in uni, and it's a slightly more complicated pattern than what I would normally use. So this is the number of pieces I need for the back of the jacket, and I'm going to cut the centerpiece on a fold, and then I'll get 2 side panels which would fit into the top half of the back. So if you guys would like me to draft this pattern, please let me know in the comment section down below. As for the front, I would need 2 or 4 each side, and then I need a top half and the collar piece. As you can see here, I want the jacket to have that fitted fit, so that's why I have a dart going across like this. So the next set of patterns we will need is a sleeve. Of course, I'll cut myself 2. This is just a basic sleeve, and then I also cut myself facing for the front and the back of the jacket as well. I need 2 facings for the front and 1 for the back, which will be cut on a fold. For this project, I decided to take a big risk and mix fabrics. So I will be using this Ankara which I used from my backpack tutorial, and I thought the yellow went so well with this soft pleather I got in my previous fabric haul. I had not tested them to see if they went together. I was ready to take the risk. So the next thing I did was to lay down the pattern pieces and cut out the number of pieces I wanted, not forgetting to mark my notches because they're a bit more pieces to go together, so you want to notch to know what goes with what. So I'm just going to cut out all the pieces I need for the Ankara and for the pleather as well. The pleather was a bit difficult to cut, I have to say. So these are the number of pieces I have. I have 2 sleeves, and as for the back, I have 1 piece for the center back, 2 pieces for the side, 1 top half and a facing to go with the back as well. As for the front, I have 2 pieces, 1 for each side, and a top half, as well as a Riviere collar which would form to make the lapel of the blazer, and a facing to just help the whole process go a whole lot easier. So I'm going to be fusing the facing as well as the Riviere collar to make it a bit more stiff and stable. So the first step in the joining process is to join the side panels of the front. So I'm going to join in the center of the left hand side with the side of the left hand side, and just stitch that nicely and neatly together before overlocking it. Using a normal straight stitch, I'm going to sew together these 2 pieces on my domestic machine. And just take your time if you're sewing leather because it can be a bit tricky. So I would just be sewing this nice and slow, because if one of these pieces move, it's going to affect the outcome on the other one. So at this point, I had done the left and the right hand side, and you can already tell that the 2 fabrics do not mix very well together. So I'm going to overlock the seams and then give it a nice press before moving on with the next process. So overlocking just prevents any form of unraveling or loosening when you start wearing your garment, and I'm just using my domestic overlocker here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to top stitch this seam right here, so it can help that place to be a bit more flat. And then before going ahead to join the top half panel for the front, so I'm just going to mark the notches that these 2 pieces have before going ahead to stitch it on my domestic machine. Using a normal straight stitch, I'm going to sew again these 3 pieces together to complete one side of the front of the jacket. I went ahead and worked on the other top half of the front. One thing I have to say though is you have to be careful when steaming leather or pleather. Always be cautious of that. So I'm going on to work on the back, and I'm going to join the 2 side panels to the center piece along these lines. So it's using a normal stitch, I am going to sew 1 centimeter from the edge, joining both side panels to the center of the back. So I have one piece to join to the front panel. So after I'm done sewing it, I went ahead to overlock just to ensure those seams are secure, and then I pressed it later on just to flatten it out a bit. The next thing I'm going to do is to join the top half to the back panel. Matching the notches of this piece as well as the top, I'm going to pin them carefully together, and joining two curves is like one of the hardest things I always struggle with, and don't pressure yourself, just take your time. So you're going to sew the two of them together, and when you get to a really tight curve, what you would do is take a scissors and snip the lower piece so it stretches out a bit more for the top half to sort of ease into. So I'm going to sew this nice and slowly. There is no rush when sewing a curve, and I didn't still get it perfectly, as you can see, but it's good enough for me for this tutorial. So the next thing I'm going to do is join the shoulder seams and the side seams of the jacket. So I'm going to pin them together first before taking it onto the machine to sew. So I'm going to pin on the sides as well, just to ensure nothing moves around when it's time to stitch on the machine. So using a normal straight stitch, I'm going to sew together the right and the left shoulders as well as the side seams, and then overlocking them before doing anything else for this jacket. So the next step is to take a look to see if everything is all right. It looks fine to me. I still need to press down some of those seams because they're still a bit foldy. This is what the shoulder looks like, and it looks quite decent so far. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just give it a bit of a press and then go ahead to work on the color of this jacket. Moving on to the color piece of this jacket, we will be making a Riviere color first, and it has 3 pieces typically. So what you want to do is join together these 2 pieces, which are always reinforced, and then join their center seams before attaching it to the other piece that is 1. So I'm going to match them together, matching those points, and then pin it down before taking it onto the machine to stitch from point A to point B. And you see this curved edge around here, that's what will sit into the neckline of your jacket to form the Riviere collar. So I'm just going to quickly stitch this on and just do it nice and neatly all the way around using a normal straight stitch 1 centimeter from the edge. So once this is done, what I'm going to do is cut off the edges, like those corners, because if you don't cut them off, the point is not going to be really sharp. So I'm just going to cut that off with like a nice small scissors, and then turn it over and take it to my iron and press it flat, so I know it's nice and smooth when it's time to fix into the jacket. To make the collar/lapel complete, you always need the facings to be reinforced as well. So when it's joined together to the front, it is stiff and stable. So I'm going to join the 2 facings to the back facing, so you have 1 long piece when it's all done. So I'm going to stitch that across and overlock it along the sides, because that's what you're going to see on the inside part of the jacket before going ahead to attach it to the neck. So I'm going to sandwich the Riviere collar in between the facing that we just joined and the jacket. So this way all you have to do is do 1 long stitch from one point of the jacket to the other side. So here I'm just matching up my notches. This is the back facing, and that's the Riviere collar in the middle, and I've matched all 3 of them together, and I'm going to pin together everything else. So once I take it to the machine to sew, is 1 long stitch that would connect everything together. So I'm going to sew from this side of the facing all the way around the collar to the other side of the facing. But caution, when you're attaching this curved point right here, it's like the same thing with sewing curves. You have to be careful, just ease it in nice and slow, and cut up some curved edges if you need more room to ease. So once that is done, I turn it over and give it a nice press, and this is what it looks like. I say the beauty of any jacket is how nice the collar and the lapel comes out. If it comes out brilliant, it just looks really, really good. So the next thing I am going to do now is to work on the sleeves. I've already joined the side seams and overlocked this as well, so I know all I have to do is just fix it on a curve into the 2 armholes of the jacket. So I'm going to pin this together, matching the side seams of the jacket and the sleeve as well as the shoulder seams, and then matching the back and the front notches of both the sleeve and the jacket. So I'm going to just stitch this on my domestic machine 1 centimeter from the edge using a straight stitch. I'm going to stitch both sleeves and then overlock them to complete the jacket. So the last thing I did was to turn up the hem 3 cm and use a zigzag stitch to finish up the hem nice and neat, because I wanted something that was unique and would stand out. As for the cuffs of the sleeves, I just folded it up twice because I didn't want a stitch line there, and that's the finished outcome. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial. It was a real struggle to make, I have to confess. It wasn't easy, especially mixing fabrics here and there. So my advice would be to test fabrics before you use them together. This was a big risk for me, but I still managed to wing it somehow, and it still came out with a decent sort of result. So I hope you guys learned something. Let me know your comments and thoughts down below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.